go to Michael McLaren. I should say the popular Michael McLaren. I mean, the aged care thing, this is a big issue, isn't it?
It's massive, and the thing that disturbs me most, Alan, is we put so much effort and emphasis on the young, particularly when it comes to education. Look at the earliest form of education, childcare, where there are mandated quotients for staff to students, and it's incredibly small. It's probably, in fact, too generous. But then you go to the aged care sector, and you've often got a handful of staff working their butt off, but they're running around like headless chooks on a floor or multiple floors trying to care at the other extreme of the age.
And these are big numbers, aren't they? There's nearly 190,000 residents. There's 2,695 aged care homes. And then these residents are supported by 1 million family members. I mean, it's a brave political party that starts saying, oh, we'll abandon you people. Once they know the truth, they'll strike back.
Well, as you said, I mean, most of us will end up in a facility like this. As a society, we're getting older. It's in everyone's interest to get it right. From a selfish point of view, but from a purely societal point of view, as you said correctly, we've got to be judged by how we treat our most vulnerable. And we seem to put all the emphasis on how we treat the young. Well, that's admirable, but we forget the old, and that's woeful.
Absolutely.
It's criminal. And, you know, I'm not going to criticise the staff. Many of them, mind you, are out here on visas because Australians generally aren't filling the job, so there's an issue there probably around wages. But, you know, we've got to get the staff ratios up. If it's good enough for the 4-year-olds in childcare, it's good enough for the 94-year-olds in aged care, surely.
Donald Trump.
Well, if I was giving Donald Trump debate advice, not that he maybe needs it, but I would say do a bit of a Mike Willis-y occasionally, Don. Yeah. Shut up.
Shut up.
You know, take Joe Biden's advice and turn it to your strength. You've got to give the other guy, and you know this, you've got to give them enough rope to hang themselves sometimes. And Joe Biden wouldn't answer the question about stacking the Supreme Court. That's a massive issue in America, the court. We don't get that here, but it's huge there. He fumbled and bumbled and obfuscated on the Green New Deal, which is a multi-trillion-dollar environment package. Now, these issues got brushed over because Donald was shouting, in came the moderator, moved it on, they're pushed on the clock. Stand back and let Joe fumble. I mean, I think that's the key. Give him the space to make the mistakes. Let the American public hear that he doesn't have it all.
If a bloke's making a fool of himself, don't interrupt him.
Quite right.
Just about whether or not the new Supreme Court appointee will be confirmed, I know you're of the view that if she is not, this may strengthen the Conservative vote, which might like Donald Trump, to make sure that he wins so that she will be confirmed afterwards.
Yeah, I think so. If the Republicans get Amy Coney Barrett onto the court before November the 3rd, for many Conservative voters, as you say, who may not like Trump for whatever reason, they might say, well, job done, we've got our court, that'll be a 40-year legacy that Trump's left us. Good on you, Donald, but we'll vote for the other guy anyway. If they don't get her in, and COVID might be the excuse, a few of the senators, of course, come down with it, well, then that means that the Conservative voters have a big choice. And in the Australian psyche, the High Court, we don't care.
Yeah,
but over there, it's a different story.
Absolutely
different story. Big story. Yeah.
Just before we go, Sam Burgess, I know you've got very strong... He's a Tigers man, this fellow. But the Sam Burgess story plastered all over the papers, and then it's all allegedly. Your thoughts on that?
Well, that issue and many others. I mean, think about Jeffrey Rush, for example. Look, there's been... And I don't want to keep naming these people because it conjures up in people's minds negative stories which haven't always been legally...
Peter Gregg,
Quiet. Now, I understand that the media has a job to play and investigative journalists have a very important role, and they tend to do it well. But I'm not comfortable, I don't know about you, but I'm not comfortable with just throwing the word alleged left, right and centre and then doing a Pontius Pilate and saying, well, I said alleged, see me in court or sue me in court if it's wrong. A lot of people see the headlines, this person's bad, this person did this to their wife, and then come up with a point of view, and they never see the follow-up story 6 months later where the court case proved that they didn't do it at all. I mean, we could name a stack of rugby league players, for example, who have been accused of this from girlfriends or whatever. It never happened. But in a lot of people's minds who saw the headline and didn't follow the story...
You could name George Pell.
They're bad.
Start with George Pell. Yeah, so I think it's a very disturbing development, and of course we've got this instrument. These instruments sound like ICAC and others.
Yes.
ACCC, they name them a front page. Yes. When they then found with no case to answer, they're page 165.
And there's role for a grand jury in some of these matters, I think.
Absolutely.
Some people borrow from the Americans.
Good to talk to you.
You too, Alan.
Keep well.
I'll try.
I like the jacket. The young man's doing well. He's bought himself a new jacket.